Welcome back, friends. Today we are going to take a look at converting fractions to decimals, decimals to fractions, and we'll probably take a look at some place value. Starting off, we are going to convert fractions to decimals. It's going to be so ridiculously easy. To convert fractions to decimals, all we're going to do is we're going to use the Desmos Scientific Calculator. That's the only one you're allowed to use for this course, but we're going to use it. And when we type it in, we're going to do numerator divided by denominator. Now you'll have two options for this. Your first option, there is a button on the calculator that looks like this. What that will do is it will bring up basically a fill-in-the-blank fraction for you. Your other option is to type in your numerator, use the division button, and put in your denominator. I do want to remind you very quickly that if your decimal repeats, so if you have something that looks like this and it keeps on going, you can write that as 1.33 with the bar on top of the repeating part. If your decimal comes out to be 125, 125, and that keeps repeating, you can write that as 0.125 with the bar over the repeating part. If for some reason you get a 4 and then the repeating part happens after that, you only need to put the bar over the part that repeats. So here we go. We are going to plug this guy into the calculator. I need to pull up my Desmos Scientific Calculator very quickly. Okay. I'm going to use the fraction button with the A over B. I'm going to put the 1 in the top. Sometimes it's a little tricky. A 2 on the denominator. And it shows me over there on the right-hand side what the decimal is. So I can see that the decimal for 1/2 is 0.5. If I do number 2, I can do it the same way. I'm going to use my fraction button. That gives me 0.24, and it's going to repeat, so I'm going to put the bar over it. These are fairly easy. I'm going to go do one of the mixed number ones. Now I know the whole part of my number is going to be a 4. What I need to change is my fraction part to a decimal. So I am going to go do 27 divided by 125. So my fraction part comes out to be 216. So this is the decimal form for 4 and 27 over 125. We'll do one more with a mixed number. I have the whole part right there. So I know it's going to be 2 point some stuff. And if I go over to Desmos and I do 3 divided by 5, I get 0.6. So that is a quick look at changing fractions to decimals. Now, before we can convert decimals to fractions, we need to revisit place value. When we talk about place value, the big thing you need to be able to find is the decimal point. Anything to the right of the decimal point is going to end in THS. Anything to the left of the decimal point will only end in an S. So you have to be very careful when you read. So to the right, we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and 10,000ths. On the left, we have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and 100,000s. In these examples, we're going to identify the place value of the underlined number, and then we're going to write the number in words. So normally, we would have a decimal in this number sitting right here. If it makes you feel better on the ones that don't have a decimal, we can add one by putting a 0.0 on the ones that don't have a decimal already. Now for 7,823, we are interested in the 3. It's one place to the left of the decimal. So if I go look one place to the left of the decimal on my chart, that means that 3 is sitting in the ones place. So if I'm going to write this out in words, I have 7,823. Notice I don't have an and in there. Our tendency is to say 7,823, but using an and right here typically would indicate the presence of a decimal place. So we have to get in the habit of not using and when we're saying numbers, because and is typically reserved to indicate the presence of a decimal. I'm going to skip over to number 2. It wasn't a very big skip. For number 2, I need to go 1, 2, 3 places to the left of the decimal. So I'm going to go back to my chart, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 places. So that number lands in the hundreds spot. So this would be 43,105. With no and. I'm going to come over here to number 3. Get one that's a little bit different. This time we are moving to the right of the decimal. 1, 2, 3 places. So if I go to my chart and I go 3 places to the right of the decimal, 1, 2, 3, I landed in the thousandths spot. So the 3 is in the thousandths place. Now, when you read decimals, the only place value word that gets used is the one for the last decimal place. So my last decimal place is 4 places behind the decimal. So that's the 10,000ths place. So this will be 8. Now here's our decimal point. This is where we're going to use an and. Then I have 6. Thousand. 800. 35. 10,000ths. That's a mouthful. We'll do one more. With a decimal place. First, my 8 is in the first place behind the decimal, to the right of the decimal. So our 8 is in the tenths place. Well, for the name of my decimal, we have our last, give me just a minute, decimal place really sitting at that third spot. We can cut off the 0. So that means the place value we're going to use when we read it is going to be that thousandth spot. So when I write the number, I have 1 and for my decimal, 876 thousandths. That is it for identifying place value. In the next video, we will use it.